This and all talks at the 2020 JavaScript for WordPress conference are brought to you in part by our sponsors Frontity and GoDaddy Pro. Frontity is the easiest way to create performant websites using WordPress and React. It connects both seamlessly so you can focus on building your site instead of all the tooling and configuration. Open source and free to use. GoDaddy Pro Hosting offers a robust suite of free tools to web developers and designers to help them save time managing all their clients and sites. Your free membership also includes advanced 24/7 technical support.
All right. Okay. So good afternoon. Today I'm going to take you through the evolution and process behind my agency's transition into Gutenberg. So, we're breaking a lot of copyright law here, but we had just had to have Bowie. And I'm going to give you some background first. So I'm Kindra. This is a headshot from when, we could have haircuts and nice things. So I am a creative director and managing partner at Dirigible Studio. I began my career as a web designer way back in the dark ages in 2004. I freelanced for a bit and then I kicked around at an agency, which is where I met my current business partner, Samuel Farrell. The two of us founded Dirigible in 2014. And since that time, I've gradually backed away from my role as a developer to kind of focus on the creative, strategic, and managerial aspects of the business. So that's kind of the beginning of my background. And you can see here's a great picture of Sam and our other developer. So my process of stepping away from that kind of front-end dev role was sped up after we hired Jake, who is a React developer and a pretty cool dude. So just so you know, Jake and Sam are here monitoring the comments, and they are available to answer any technical React questions you might have with our approach. I am no longer working in actively developing any of our themes or websites. But my role here in our transition to Gutenberg was on the strategy side and also acting as the voice of the client. So we are a boutique marketing agency based in Madison, Wisconsin. We started out doing custom WordPress websites, and we've since expanded our capabilities and staff, and you can see them all here. And we've grown into a full service agency. So as you can see, we do a ton of different things. But at the heart of all of our marketing strategies, we always center the client around owning their own content on their own website and kind of having that power over their messaging, which is, really a topic for a whole other presentation that I also give that is Duran Duran themed. But anyway, I digress. So our clients are they run the gamut. We have very small clients. We have artists who use their sites to showcase their work. They generally know how to manage their own content. And then we also work with large corporations who utilize our services to update their websites in conjunction with their marketing departments. The thing that unites all of them is that they require an on-brand site that they can edit without too much hassle, which is why WordPress has been our solution for years and years. Unfortunately, until WordPress implemented Gutenberg, there wasn't an easy to use content management system that was both powerful, robust, and had a true rich editing experience. A truly what you see is what you get editor in a CMS has been a holy grail for web designers and developers my entire career. And I'm telling you all of this background because I was a dev for a long time. And in my current role, I handle the client concerns and I spend a lot of time listening to them and learning about their pain points. So first, so you can get a holistic view of our approach to undertaking Gutenberg and the transition that the way we did it is I want to take you on a brief history of the bad old days. So when I started my dev career, it was kind of the dying days of tables, iframe, cold fusion. So, it was really revolutionary when WordPress came around. I flirted with Drupal. But WordPress is really the best solution and has been the best solution for 15 years or more. And it was on the strength of my WordPress experience, which at that time was 6 months. I was hired for my first agency job in 2009. And even though WordPress was a pretty robust solution at that time, unfortunately, I inherited a ton of sites that were laid out in tables, iframes, and what have you. And just as an example, this is a screenshot of the code from the website that I had to edit at my first dev job. And you can see there's some kind of editable content field. It says instance and editable in the code. And there were these sections where clients could edit their own content, but it was extremely, to use a technical term, janky, because they had to have like a copy of Dreamweaver and they had to have a key to get in, and it just wasn't as user-friendly as it wanted to be. I spent a lot of time walking clients through how to access their own back end, which was not a problem with WordPress. And so you can kind of see this is what we're working with a decade ago or more. And I get the impulse. So clients have always wanted to edit their own websites because they don't want to be at the mercy of their agency or developers. And we've always tried to work with clients to get them that access. And, you know, our solutions haven't always been ideal. And, you know, that's why WordPress was so great. My first website took me a full day to spin up, which, I mean, was crazy. But once I was able to get past that learning curve, it was great. And it truly felt like the dawn of a new era. Like, I remember waiting for 2.8 to come out, that release. It was a huge release, and it was really something that was life-changing as far as my career went. So I'm just going to duck over really quick and make sure nobody is okay. You guys are handling the comments just fine. So anyway, here is basically how we leveraged WordPress back in these old days. So we were using posts to populate various templates, and for the time it worked really well. Clients could enter their content into the post title and into the editor, and then we could reuse the content elsewhere. So, I mean, it was loops on loops on loops. And you can see an example here. In this template, they could edit the page, you know, where it says rediscover a true classic. And then we were pulling in the reports at the bottom where it says fishing update as posts that the client was able to go in, you know, you could add a picture of the big muskie you caught in the blog post, but, you know, they were able to go in and easily update it. And it was really useful, and it was a great solution for the time with the technology that we had. However, the templates themselves weren't very flexible, and adding new types of content or new amounts of content required help from a developer. But still, it was so much better than anything else before. However, we still had not achieved a goal of a true WYSIWYG editor. And so during this time period, the first page builders appeared. And I have to say, people have asked us, have we ever considered using a page builder? We still get clients who ask us if we can work with their sites that have been built with page builders. And I have to say, we have never considered using page builders. So with a page builder, you know, you're drastically reducing the power of your CMS. WordPress has grown into a powerful, fully featured way to manage data in intricate ways. That's why you're seeing these headless implementations that are even more powerful. So as an example, we've built booking engines, property management software, personnel directories, event managers, you name it. We have an apartment rental company where we can update an apartment rental status, and we change it in one place and it just filters everywhere. And this kind of power is what differentiates WordPress from page builder platforms like Squarespace. And if you introduce page building in this way to WordPress, you're throwing all of that away. And even though they allow editors to manage pages, it doesn't allow editors to actually manage content. So if I were looking for a page building experience, I would be probably tempted to go all the way and just tell them to use Squarespace. That's not true. We would just use WordPress always. No, and the other thing about it is it just like ties the content to layout in precisely the way that we have always been looking to avoid. In most of the implementations that we've inherited and worked on, it basically reduces page layout to inline CSS, but with more steps. So it's the worst of all possible worlds. And they just tend to generate terrible markup and are slow on both the front and the back end, you know, and they're often managed with these plugin dependencies that can introduce additional service loads and vulnerabilities onto your site. And I'm sure there are real developers out there using page builders in smart ways that can enrich their client lives. We haven't seen it yet. So what were we doing during this time? How were we building sites without page builders still satisfied clients for the last decade or so? So we started out by writing our own custom meta fields and using those to create templates. And then custom post types and advanced custom fields were released. And so in our quest for flexibility and a better backend editing experience, we developed flexible layout templates using advanced custom fields and custom post types, which obviously weren't available when we first began. But with these new WordPress features, we were able to extrapolate from our earlier method of pulling posts into templates into pulling a variety of content into defined layout blocks that could exist on the page in any order. So we were essentially getting as close to a WYSIWYG editor as we could. And we called this framework the theme to end all themes. And huge shout out to Elliot Condon from ACF, by the way. His pioneering work saved us countless hours and allowed us to create innovative templateless layouts. You know, it was a game changer. And we were able to essentially create a Gutenberg experience without Gutenberg. So here you can see a side-by-side example of how we accomplished this. This is a hero block with a text block below it. And so this text block can be replaced with a variety of other layout options. And you can see, you know, if you take a look at this, here's the hero headline, hero sub, and here's the video you're seeing. And the client is able to kind of, you know, control some of their options. They can add an image, they can center it, they can center the text and add buttons. And it's a bit abstracted, but you can still see what the page would look like if you're going to start editing it. So it was fairly satisfying. And, you know, we created a bunch of different blocks for this. We created galleries, text with images, etc. So again, you can toggle between these two views and it gets you pretty close. You know, it's not perfect, but from a client standpoint, it's way better than just, you know, basically typing into a box and hoping for the best, the guess and check sort of thing. So, you know, anything that they asked us to do, we could build it using ACF. We've made carousels, we've made galleries, we've made all sorts of very highly specialized pieces of content and content blocks for clients where they can achieve the look they're going for and also duck in and edit it at any time. Or if we're managing their content for them, we can stick, you know, somebody who's not very technical in front of the website and say, hey, here are the headlines, here are the subheads, grab some images and go. So it works fairly well. However, it was an approach not without its pitfalls. So for one thing, it's super cumbersome. Adding repeating elements like a grid of cards would end up taking immense visual height. And this is actually from a website that we still work on and still support right now. And this page was laid out last week, you know, so we're still using this with clients who haven't made the new investment into Gutenberg. But as you can see, you know, they wanted 9 cards here. and you have just cards on cards on cards on cards. So it can get very kind of hairy when you're editing. So even though content editing was predictable and there were cues to how it would be presented, it was still an abstraction. And page design was reduced to guess and check. So it's not ideal. It's not a true WYSIWYG experience. And then the other caveat, the pitfall, is that clients are increasingly using their phones and tablets to edit their content on the go. And using WordPress and ACF fields, old vanilla WordPress, is not the most user-friendly experience on a small screen, especially if you're adding additional functionality or content. And, you know, I've been on vacation and far away from my big laptop, and I've had to make changes and updates for clients too, and it's kind of a pain. But the other caveat, big pitfall, is that WordPress has gone all in on Gutenberg. So as it grows and as there's more adoption, it's the future, you know, and living in the past isn't an option. So any agency worth their salt needs to get up to speed on Gutenberg. It's, you know, it's the future. So basically, the quest for a rich content editor, a true WYSIWYG, is complete. Or is it? So the problem with it and the idea behind Gutenberg is wonderful. And we would have been jumping for joy and been super excited about it off the bat if we hadn't spent the last 5 or 6 years building out the theme to end all themes and honing our PHP skills. And I'm sure there's a lot of other developers and agencies in that boat. So we had to make a big decision and a big investment to turn our agency towards Gutenberg. And we did so early. As soon as it was announced, we got behind this and we started thinking about what we were going to do and our approach to it. So, you know, I guess one of the routes we could have taken was abandoning kind of these highly customized websites that we make for people. But we did not want to do that. Our clients rely on us and come to us because our entire business is based on building these highly customized WordPress websites with like specific features that fit business goals and needs. We don't really use off-the-shelf templates ever. The only time that our agency does that is if we inherit a client that we really want to take on with a website that functions well enough for the immediate future. So as soon as we realized that WordPress was all in on Gutenberg, we got to work. So first up, we had to get up to speed on React. Easier said than done, right? I mean, we already had a head start because Jake was very interested in React and was pretty comfortable in it. He brushed up a little bit just through reading and building and kind of experimenting. And Sam did the same thing, but he needed some help switching from a PHP workflow to a React workflow. So he took JavaScript for WordPress's Gutenberg block development course, and it flattened his learning curve significantly. And I promise you, we were not paid for this endorsement. So it was a really helpful course. And if you are wondering how you're going to make the switch from PHP to React, we highly recommend it. So anyway, that was step one, was just becoming React developers. So once we had that under our belt and felt comfortable, we decided to rebuild all of our layout components from the theme to end all themes the Gutenberg way. So all of those blocks I showed you before, the carousels, the card blocks, everything had to be rebuilt. So we were kind of starting fresh, which was a daunting prospect at first. So to get started, the first thing we did is we rolled our own style customizer. So you can see an example of it here. These styles feed the Gutenberg editor blocks and essentially override the default Gutenberg colors and typeface choices that come out of the box. And this is an important feature for our clients and for us because it allows their team members to design pages without any sort of design experience, because maybe your content manager or your intern doesn't really care about brand standards, or they don't know enough to care about brand standards. They don't know that you have a specific blue. You don't have time to train them on that. We put this all in here right away. So this was the first kind of thing that we ported over. And as you can see, here's a little GIF that shows you how it works. It lets you essentially design the website before you place any real content, and get your styles in there and let it feed Gutenberg. Because Gutenberg's great and all, but it does allow a lot of design leeway out of the box. So we like to lock it down. So the next step we took was creating a background block that holds our inner blocks. The background block forms the scaffolding for all of those inner blocks that we place inside. And it can accept a wide variety of styles and settings, including different colors, images, patterns, padding widths, and more. It looks really simple, because it's just one block, but it's key to keeping our inner blocks organized. And so here's another kind of example where you can see everything from the style customizer is now living in this background block. And we can take it from there. So that in this example, you can see there's a background color with some text, a text block, text inner block, and a gallery inner block. And we can change the color, the background color on all of these items just by clicking one button. So, and then using inner blocks, we can write containers for things like the grid card, and then write any number of things that live inside the grid card container. And it's all tightly styled with CSS variables inherited from the parent theme. So here's an example right here of a grid card with images and a headline, a button. It looks like there's a date and an excerpt on there. And then that can also be reconfigured to have something like icons and not necessarily the date inside of it. Or it can even be displayed as kind of a whole width card, and it's a little bit more elegant and contained. So using these block styles, we can take it pretty far and let the parent block style instantly inform all of its children. So again, we have these grid cards, these grid card examples on my screen. So by choosing the block style of the parent container, we have all the dependencies and inherited styles defined in the parent. And then we can change the way that data is displayed with a couple of clicks. So in the first example on the left, we have cards that have a default style. We have a style that kind of pops the cards out a little bit. We have the overlay style that you saw in the previous slide, and then we can center it. So, we give a lot of options to page designers and content editors, but it does stay on brand. And, we took the grid cards that you see here and turned them into kind of another style of card. These are pricing cards. And so we used our base styles for grid cards and our base styles for structured list markup. And we combined the two of those into another block that's a pricing card. So, and again, you can have these style options next to them. And with the Gutenberg editing, they can change their prices, without talking to their developer. So it's just very easy to edit for the client and easy to design for the client. And because the markup and style are so tightly controlled, which is the antithesis of page builders, things just automatically look good on mobile, on desktop, on weird tablets, on giant screens in conference rooms. And it just kind of comes along for free, and in modern web design, we've converged on these user patterns that just kind of work. So heroes often have a headline, they have lead copy, a button, a background image, or a video. Cards have a figure, container that holds some kind of media, which whether that's an image or an icon or a video, a headline, a link. Blocks are the perfect vehicle for these kinds of sets of data, and they allow us to maintain control of the markup, to keep it sane and semantic and present it in any way we can possibly imagine, which, unlike a page builder, the page editor, Gutenberg, doesn't need to worry about presentation in the micro sense, only in the macro. And none of this is particularly revolutionary, but it's never been this easy, and it's never given the instant visual feedback. And now what you see is truly what you get. We have achieved WYSIWYG. And clients love auditioning their designs and seeing, you know, what that page is going to look like and truly know. You know, there's no more guess and check for them, and it makes them feel a lot more secure. And it's just been a really great experience for them. For example, they can look at this list, you know, they can look at this headline and image and decide different ways to present it. We have a blogger who's using this right now, and she's creating these great editorial layouts. You know, when in the past she would have to be like, okay, I think I want things to, you know, kind of overlap or overlay, and all of her blog posts would look the same. This way she can actually kind of have more of a sophisticated blog layout or a article layout for each of her articles that actually fit the content that she is using. And the benefits of this approach, you know, you get clean semantic markup, complete with schema. You have modular layout that's divorced from the content. You have uniform design that's been inherited from the theme, and it's just modular by nature. It's portable, it's maintainable, and the data fields are designed as the blocks are designed. You know, they don't require a database entry, they don't require instantiation, and because the block is defined in one place, versioning isn't an issue anymore. With ACF, you had to make sure that all of your ducks were in a row. The fields had to be defined in either functions.php or in the ACF dashboard, and there needed to be PHP code placed in the theme to handle that layout field group. And then there needed to be the requisite CSS in the theme code to present it. With blocks, it's all in one place, you know? So, and that is why it's so speedy compared to these ACF flexible layouts that we were doing before, because all of those layouts were stored in the post meta table, and the pre-hit was huge. So Gutenberg pages are stored as HTML right in the post content, which is semantically where it should be. But there are drawbacks, you know? There's a steep learning curve going from PHP dev to React dev. And quite honestly, I myself didn't make that journey, you know? And I've been lucky not to have to, because I had other people in our agency who were able to. You know, like that is not a light undertaking, especially if you've been used to using PHP every day of your life for 10, 15 years, you know? From a client standpoint, there are also far fewer React devs and agencies out there. You know, with WordPress powering 35% or more of all websites in existence, there are many agencies and PHP devs out there who can comfortably work on any number of websites, right? It's portable. You can, if you break up with your agency, your developer falls off the face of the earth, you can take that website almost anywhere and find somebody to do that work. That's not necessarily the case right now. And I'm not entirely sure that clients know that. Of course, we are, I think, going to see many more agencies and developers going into React, but you know, right now it's sort of the Wild West. So the other thing too is just block deprecation. Things are a little brittle with Gutenberg. So we're managing that by writing out deprecations, but we wish there was a better solution. with better markup inference so that we don't get these scary HTML warnings. And we just have confidence that the Gutenberg team is going to fix this. And with those unexpected HTML warnings, one of the problems is that clients can see them and they get them a lot. It does feel like they're getting fewer and fewer of them these days. And really the only way that we figured out how to manage that is just through good old-fashioned customer service. So we will get distress calls, once in a while, like, oh my gosh, I'm in the back end, I have this weird error. We hop in and fix it right away, which is not an ideal solution. It's easy for us to do, but it still can kind of harm confidence in the entire, in the entire experience. That being said, our clients have loved the benefits far more than they've been scared by these warnings. And then the other issue is that all of this power can kind of create a fear, like a horror vacui in clients. When you can do anything with your site, sometimes it's hard for people to do anything with their site, So we have approached that in two different ways. We've delivered sites where all of the content is placed and then they just go in and lightly edit it. And then on the other end of the spectrum is we've held boot camps. Well, we used to, I guess they would have to be virtual now. We've held boot camps where we train them on how to make design choices and show them the possibility and help them kind of develop a website style guide. So, and that's, part of our process and some of the services we offer, but it still can be kind of a scary thing for clients. But at the end of the day, I am happy to say that the quest is indeed complete and we have achieved true WYSIWYG editing. And I'm so happy it happened before my career was over. Wasn't really holding out hope there for a while. So we're really happy that Gutenberg exists. And even though the transition has been a little bit of a climb, we are very happy that we made it. And we are very excited to see where Gutenberg takes WordPress in the future. So with that, I can take any questions, or Sam and Jake are here too. So deprecations are a nightmare.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Kindra.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Does anyone have questions for Kindra? You can still spend at least 5 minutes with us before we call it, before we wrap this up.
It was a lot.
People they're chilling, they're being laid back. They don't want to ask questions now.
Right.
Send a tweet if you want. I think we have 2 questions now, though. Carlos is asking, have you transitioned the multi-site to Gutenberg?
Yes, we have. So actually I have our multi-site. Oh, I'm not logged in. We run multiple multi-sites on Gutenberg right now. I think we've got like 3 of them going. And because I'm live, I probably won't be able to log in, right? So as you can see, here we are. We're running approximately kind of like, I want to say 35 sites on this particular network. And then on another network, we're running 5. And are we running a third? I think we're running a third one, right? So yeah, we're running Gutenberg on multi-site, and basically we have a theme to rule all themes. That's the parent sitting at the base of the multi-site, and then we're running child themes off of that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. You have another question from Mark. It says, were ACF blocks ever a consideration over GS?
I'm going to defer to Sam or Jake about that. My understanding and my belief from that is we were looking for speed, and I don't know if Sam, our ACF blocks, are they still storing data in the database as singular entries, or is it more of a flat like Gutenberg? I don't know where they went. I'm going to say no, just because we were just all in. And we started doing this before ACF blocks came out too. Yeah, and Sam's saying it's still kind of spread out all over. So we took the opportunity to consolidate and really try and speed up the front end and the back end of our sites. Oh, they don't support inner blocks? Not yet? So okay.
Well, yes, we have another question from Joe. Thank you so much for an incredible presentation. Loved how you provided actual case studies and examples. You mentioned the steep learning curve. Sorry about that. In transitioning from PHP process, what would you say is the most creative or rewarding achievement your team has made in your new process?
So I think from my standpoint, seeing Sam and Jake just respond to all of my crazy ideas. You know, we had all these blocks before, right? Like we had tons of layout blocks. But working with Gutenberg has really made it seem more possible to do different or creative blocks, because we're not having those giant ACF fields, you know, where it's just fields on fields on fields on fields, and the clients will get kind of bulky about entering information into there. Now, you know, that pricing block field takes up as much space on the front end as the back end to the client, and we're just able to get more and more creative with our designs, our user experience, and it's been an exciting time for me. And I'm not sure if, you know, Sam or Jake, I don't know if you guys have a creative or rewarding part of this from a coding standpoint. From my standpoint, it's just, you know, seeing what we can do. So I do like pushing you to make crazy Gutenberg blocks. And so like that's one of the things, you know, I know I didn't make the transition into React, but I know enough to be dangerous. I know how long things take as a former developer, and I know what I'm asking for. So I know when I'm making an ask that's a crazy one versus a not so crazy one, and I'm here to push us. So yeah, it is definitely more iterative. So
awesome.
and then
from Ben is asking.
it is no, it's not. That is part of our code base that we've developed over the years. So
okay. For those that can't see the question, let me read it out. No, it's fine. Ben asks, is your starter team work where you use the customizer to configure Gutenberg public or open source? So that was the question.
Yeah, it's not open source, unfortunately.